Welcome to David's Life and Observation with your host, David Welch. Making some breakfast this morning, and I've been able, like I said, I've been able to come back and catch what's going on in the news, and I'm sorry for the last video. I fucked up Amber Guyger's name probably 30 times or something. I don't know, but it's Amber Guyger, not Amber Guyger, and for some reason, my dyslexia kicked in. I missed the whole G, but it's okay. I'm caught up on the trial, and the defense is trying to assert that she had. So at first they tried to say, "Hey, we need to have a mistrial because of a gag order." That was really before the trial kicked off, and I don't understand how you as a defense attorney are gonna do everything you can to get your client off. I get that. And I applaud defense attorneys because they are fighting an uphill battle on this one. What I do not applaud is the fact that, hey, you're going to try and use a legal loophole to subvert the fact that a man was murdered by a police officer, and you're trying to get her back out on the street, and especially if they find her not guilty of anything, she's going to try and get her job back with the department and potentially put someone else's life at risk. And that I don't agree with. I don't agree with that at all. Now, like I said, you're going to do everything you can as a defense attorney to get your client off. And what you're going to have to do is pull on the emotional heartstrings of the jury, which is, I believe, all women, or a high percentage of women and a high percentage of minorities. I think they did a really good job shuffling the deck. Now, I don't know each individual woman's personal philosophy, because what often happens, and they're actually trying to probably go for a mistrial or going to try and go for nullification in this situation, but this is a rare move that they're actually trying to do that, because it's very ingenious the way they went about choosing the jury members, because they chose women, and they also specifically chose minorities, because they're trying to play a card where, hey, please have sympathy for this officer. She's female. She was in a situation where a scary, black man was supposedly in her room or in her apartment. And you just got to feel for the officer in that situation, because, she's a woman. And, we all know how scary black men can be, is what they're trying to pull. Forget the fact that she had a gun. Forget the fact that she went against training and should have backed out and left and then called for backup. Or at least left and said, or at least try to have a conversation like, have a conversation like, what are you doing in my home? What's going on here? By all means, pull your firearm. By all means, yell, stop moving. Do not fucking move. And at the same time, too, we have no body cam. We have no audio. We have no nothing. She doesn't even try to do CPR, from what we know. And the first ones on scene are her department to do their level best to cover shit up, to probably remove evidence, to do, there's a myriad of things they could have done before another agency or EMS got there. And it's a miracle that was allowed to take place. Again, when officers are involved in an incident, an outside agency should be able to at least try to attempt to bring some level of transparency, some level of accountability to the situation. Like I said, officers from multiple agencies will cover each other's backs. They'll do what they can to write reports that are analogous to the other officers so that they don't get in trouble because of the thin blue line. But the prosecutor is going hard in the paint for murder, and here's why that's problematic. With murder, you have to prove intent, and there was, at least to the best of my knowledge, I really can't. If the defense is using the defense of, hey, she thought this was her apartment, you can't say that there was intent. I don't think it was. I think she absolutely had intent, but that's hard to prove, unless you can scour back on social media and scour her phone records for the last 6-7 months, or find out a situation where they did have contact and things like that. I mean, there needs to be a thorough investigation and a lot of digging, and they should really be going after manslaughter. Manslaughter is something that's more likely to stick. Hey, it was an accident. Hey, you were in the wrong apartment. Hey, you didn't go with policy. You didn't follow what you're supposed to do in a situation. And then, you killed a man in cold blood in his own home, essentially. And it's just gonna, like I said, she's probably gonna get away with this in some sort of way. She's probably gonna get, even if she is found guilty of murder, she's gonna win on appeal and at least have it probably bumped down to manslaughter. And it's like I said, it's an incredible display of farce going on in front of the American people. I'm going to do what I can to watch the trial, kind of see what else. Like, she didn't do herself any favors on the stand. She looked ridiculous. She didn't really mount a defense. She really just tried using crocodile tears to justify the murder of a man. And I don't think the jury and I don't think the American people bought that at all. And when it comes to that issue, I'm going to keep you updated as much as I can. I'm going to follow that case because it's a high profile case of an officer committing a crime, and we're trying to get accountability, but it just doesn't look like it's going to play out that way. It really doesn't. And you're damn skippy going to see another video if the results of what I'm saying, if the premonition or the way things I perceive them to be or go about play out, then you will see more videos of me saying, I fucking told you so. But if it goes the other direction and they convict her of murder and she's getting 30 years prison sentence or whatever, I will actually applaud the justice system in that situation. We do have another situation, another video that came out where a gentleman, and you're going to have to forgive me, I don't have notes in front of me, I just kind of made breakfast and I was just kind of going with the flow here. Another man was fleeing and a law enforcement officer shot him in the back. Now, to be fair to the law enforcement officer, this guy did have a weapon. However, he didn't have it in his hands. He had it stuffed into his pants or put in a pocket, and he was jogging down the road. And it looked like he was on a highway, and I just don't see where the threat of danger was to anyone. This guy put the firearm in his pants, wearing some fucking really tight-ass jeans, and he was jogging down the road and was shot in the back. How in the fuck can you justify, as a law enforcement officer, as a human being, to shoot someone in the motherfucking back and have that be okay? It's not okay. The other motherfucker got caught so bad he was planting fucking evidence. But now you've got this situation. They're going to say, well, see, he was armed, so we had no choice but to shoot him in the back. And then everyone's trying to forget the Arizona case where a fat-ass officer couldn't chase a kid, and the fat-ass officer shot that kid in the back from hella fucking far. Just shot him in the back. Kid was taking off. Yeah, they're trying to say, oh, he had a gun. And I'm like, no, he had an airsoft rifle. Or a fucking BB gun. He was going to do no damage to nobody. And it all comes down to the fat-ass officer being too fucking fat to chase him. That's what it came down to. So he decides to shoot the kid in the back. There's no justification for that. There is none. There is no justification for shooting someone in the fucking back, especially when they're not posing a danger and their actions are what? Getting away from you? There are reasons people run from the police, and it's not because they're fearing of being in trouble. They're fearing of getting fucking killed, because that's what happens in this country. Cops kill people at an alarming rate. There's already been, what, 1,100 homicides by cop this year? And it's homicide. They commit murder every fucking time. And then they're trying to say, oh, it's a good shoot. There's no good shoot. You're taking someone's life. Now, are there legal justifications for killing someone? Yes, there are. But a large majority of the time, it doesn't pass the snuff test. It doesn't pass the, like, we have kids last year, or a gentleman getting swatted and killed right outside his home, even though he was 100% complying with officers. The country seems to forget about that whole mess. Not one single officer was prosecuted. If I'm the family of someone that happened to, I will get justice. If, let's say, my little brother or my family members who play a lot of video games get swatted, video comes out that they're complying with the officer's demands, and then they kill my relative on his front porch, even though he's complying with officers' commands and trying to get an understanding of what's going on, they still shoot him to death. And then the prosecutor, nobody does anything. Yo. At that point, you as a family member, you as a citizen, have every right to use your Second Amendment to get justice in that situation. Because right there, that's cold-blooded murder, and that's a violation of his rights, the family's rights, everything like that. So you as a citizen are allowed to take matters into your own hand, because the justice system at that point fails, because they won't prosecute the officers for committing murder. And there's no legal justification for them to shoot. They made up justification, saying, oh, well, he was fidgety, or, no, he was complying with your orders. In that situation, you really do need to gather as many people as you can, gather the town and have them rally behind you, and hang those officers in public. And they really should have been the whole department getting hung. Not the ones that weren't there, but every officer present should be hung in town square because of that. Or they should have met Madame Guillotine. Absolutely. I don't care if you're the family member of those officers watching this video. I don't care. Your relative committed murder. They should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And when the law doesn't work, you as a citizen, you as a family member of the citizen who was murdered by the state, have every legal reason, every lawful ability to go use your Second Amendment right to take out those officers. They are agents of the state. They are not being prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And and here's what happened. The family went ahead and filed a wrongful death lawsuit. We don't know the results of that case. I do believe that, the city was doing everything they can to settle out of court. But none of those officers are being held accountable for that. Not a single one. They committed murder. You can't tell me that the justice system had a win in that situation. It doesn't. And I'm a patient person. I will let the justice system play out. Like, hey, let it play out. Let the justice system do what it does. Let the prosecutors, the defense attorneys, and everybody do their due diligence. But at least put on the play. If you're not even putting on the play, then, how are people supposed to react? How are people supposed to be just okay with you murdering a family member? No. In fact, we've created a generation. Not only have we created a generation, moving forward, especially when you arrest 6-year-olds, especially when you put a 5-year-old on the sex offender registry for giving a classmate a hug, because we haven't found more ways to be more obtuse. But when you do those kind of things, you create a criminal, or so you project a criminal element on society. They grow up in a world where they absolutely detest and hate the state and law enforcement. And before too long, you're going to have a bunch of Judge Dreds riding around who are the law, and they're going to fucking kill a bunch of people because they believe they have the right to do so. And we're already seeing it. They violate the law. They break into people's homes constantly. A guy got arrested. I saw a video where a guy got arrested for filming from his front porch. He was doing nothing but saying, hey, don't smack the person that you're trying to arrest. He doesn't have to go back into his home. That's not a crime. They have no jurisdiction to tell someone for their safety to go back in their home. They don't have a right to suppress your First Amendment right to record officers in their capacity and in their duties. And when they're committing crimes, they need to be called out for it on the spot. Because otherwise, they're going to cover up and they're going to do everything they can to ensure that video goes nowhere. And the departments have already been caught several times deleting footage, damaging camera equipment so that people can't use the camera anymore. And they hold your shit forever. They will hold your equipment for a long time until the charges get dropped or until it goes to trial, or they can try and use your evidence against you and try and use your own information against you, which is a violation of the Fifth and Fourth Amendment, because you have a right to your property, you have a right to defend your property. But we see it time and again, where law enforcement oversteps their bounds in a lot of situations and a lot of cases, and there's no accountability. That's why people are pissed off. That's why protests happen in the first place. People are pissed off that there's no accountability, and then you got goons, these officers dressing up in full fucking riot gear, and then they're, hitting people with paint, and they're doing all sorts of stuff to dispel the riots, and I wouldn't even call them riots, the protests. It goes into full-blown riot when officers are using tear gas and everything to disperse the people, and then that's when it creates mob mentality and chaos. It doesn't happen prior to the law enforcement officers attacking, and we see that time and again with a lot of different protests. We saw that with Standing Rock when Standing Rock was huge. So why is that not being discussed more at length? Why are the court cases from that not being discussed more at length? Because agents of the state protected the profits of a company on Indian fucking land, and they used water in the freezing temperatures to shoot at people. They're shooting them with all manner of biological weapons, tear gas, hitting them with paint, and this is freezing in the Dakotas, like what? And you're damaging people's water source, you're damaging people's land, all for profit, to protect profit. Excuse me. And it's absolutely obtuse, and it's asinine. But we don't hear about the lawsuits. Probably not a lot of lawsuits. Probably people toiling in courts over there. And you got one conservative or a couple conservative judges up there, or prick judges that are like, well, yeah, you shouldn't have been infringing upon the rights of the company, because they have rights apparently. And they're allowed to break treaties with Indians and fucking crawl all over their land. We have politicians like Beto O'Rourke, this motherfucker. This dude is amazing because he's sitting there telling the American people, his constituents, that, yeah, when I'm elected, if I'm president or if I'm whatever, I'm going to come take the AR-15s and I'm going to come take the AKs. First off, I don't know anyone with an AK. I do know people with AR-15s. And without breaking the law, without violating people's rights, how are you going to do that? Especially when, get this, Beto O'Rourke has a criminal history of robbery and theft. He probably committed a lot of burglaries, and burglars, robbers, anybody who commits crimes like that, they don't want people to be armed. They don't want people to defend themselves. They don't want people to have the ability to defend themselves. They want to be able to just steal and take with impunity. And essentially, Beto wants the government to be able to do that. They want them to be able to do with impunity, without any sort of reprisal from the people. This guy is intentionally and woefully going against the Constitution in that matter, and telling people, he's so bold as to say it as part of his campaign, that he will take firearms away from people. Why is it that whenever a crime's committed, the law-abiding citizens of this country always get attacked? They're always getting attacked by politicians who don't know how to even fire weapons. These politicians are so hypocritical. They have hired guns around them. They have Secret Service agents. They have personal protection outfits with firearms walking them around. And then they want to take your firearms away from you. And something that doesn't get discussed nearly as much as it needs to is we're in a precarious situation with the mental health in this country, that doctors are now emboldened to commit crime. They are emboldened to commit all these crimes. And here's how doctors are committing crimes in droves. They're using the justification of, I'm a doctor, so therefore I have a good assessment of people's mental situation, and I'm going to go ahead and tell law enforcement that they're not complying with me, that they're not doing what the doctor said. So I'm going to send armed agents of the state to steal children, to search your room, to force you into a mental facility because you choose, as a free-thinking individual, to refuse treatment. You choose as a free-thinking individual to refuse treatment for your kid. There's a situation, I believe in Texas, that parents who did not want their kid to get, what was it? Parents that did not want their kids to get cancer treatment, they got arrested. They got put in jail. And their kid was forced into a foster care situation. And then they forced treatment onto the kid. But guess what? The kid didn't need the fucking treatment. Kid doesn't have cancer, but they wanted to force treatment because the doctor said. And it's freaking amazing. It's amazing that that's allowed to persist. It's amazing that that's allowed to happen. You know, it's like, come on, what? And for some reason, we have so many medical professionals not being put to task for falsifying information to law enforcement agencies, which is what happened in my case. They falsify information to law enforcement. They intentionally hide witnesses from law enforcement to interview, like my wife, because law enforcement will go in half-cocked because they don't have all of the information available to them. If they don't have all the information, if they've done their own digging and they still, violate someone's rights, that should be prosecuted, and the medical professionals in that situation should go to jail. They're using mental health, and especially against veterans. They attack veterans with impunity because they've been successful in doing so. They are not being put to task enough, and more doctors are becoming emboldened. They're becoming aware to this, and they're putting people in jail for defying them. How dare you defy my white coat? Which invariably happens. And if you think it doesn't happen, you're fucking ignorant. Because it happens all the time. We have another gentleman in El Paso who sleeping, minding his own business, but they used an emergency medical detention to take care of him. They do this with anybody that doesn't comply, and they can't find any other legal reason to fuck with them. So they say, oh, well, you're a veteran. We're going to place you under emergency detention order, and we're going to get some sort of whack job medical professional to sign off on this. I'm sorry, but that's abuse of the mental health code, and that's abuse of your rights. They're trying to, law enforcement officers have to find ways to put people in cages. The only way they keep people in cages and find different ways to generate revenue in the arrest and to generate revenue is to find different ways to keep putting people in cages, because they are beholden to private prisons. They are beholden to the jail. They're beholden to the federal tax dollars that come from incarcerating people. So their mentality is simple. In order to keep my job, in order to keep getting bonuses, in order to keep getting the overtime that I love so much, I have to keep incarcerating people. And the only way you do that is you find more and more ways to subvert their rights. You find more and more ways to get laws on the books that allow you to be the goon that you want to be. And it's kind of funny that a bunch of uneducated people, and I say uneducated because 90% of the officers that are officers right now barely have a high school diploma. And their job is very simple. In fact, they get caught all the time. We got an officer recently caught sleeping, gets out of his vehicle, violates the citizen's rights, throws him in the back of the vehicle, and tries to delete the video. And for some reason under the sun, this guy is not in jail. This guy is not in prison. One, he was sleeping on the job, so he's stealing your hard-earned tax money. He also had a woman in the car with him. So this dude's obviously getting some hanky-panky while on the job. And it's now a fucking miracle of modern aesthetic that he is not in prison, but the person who caught him sleeping, the person who did film him, was illegally detained, put in handcuffs that were so tight that it left marks, and fucked with, and threatened with arrest and charges if he didn't delete the film or he didn't go away, which he didn't delete the film. And that to me is just amazing. That it's an insane world we live in where that's allowed to happen. That's allowed to persist. So it's getting crazy out there, folks. And you have politicians that are openly advocating, like Beto O'Rourke, openly advocating for taking your firearms. They're openly advocating to deny you the ability to defend yourself when you're home. But we're going to arm law enforcement to the teeth. We're going to have them indistinguishable from soldiers. Give them tanks. Give them all manner of body armor and protection. And we're going to allow them to run free reign and make up laws as they go, or convince politicians to make up laws to incarcerate more people, because we can't have a system where it's actually fair. We can't have a system where we don't cage the innocent, which is what happens all the time. And on a final note, there needs to be an overhaul, an extreme overhaul of the family court system. It is the only system that I know of that is blatantly unconstitutional. And why is that allowed to happen in this country? Why is it allowed to persist? It's unconstitutional. A single judge should not be able to say, you know what, hey, agents of the state, you need to go take away their children. And so many people are affected by this. It's insane how many people are affected by CPS. Every person I talk to, every young person I talk to with kids that are toddlers have all had CPS cases over the dumbest things, over false reports. And the people making the false reports never go to jail. We don't have situations where people actually go to jail for this, or they don't get fined or anything like that. Nothing happens. The police say, oh, well, next time, we'll just tell them. Motherfucker, you tried to ruin... You were calling people with badges and guns to literally kill someone or to literally seize someone's kids from them, and you motherfuckers aren't going to jail because of this? It's a fucking atrocity is what it is. Anyways, Beto O'Rourke, fuck you. Come try and take my weapons. Come and try and take it. I hope you do. In fact, I would love to one-on-one Me and you, Beto. We'll fight. We'll fight in a cage. I will relinquish every firearm and blade and everything I have in this house. If you beat me in this cage, I'll relinquish all my firearms. Because I believe you're a fucking pussy. I believe you're a disgrace on the American people. And I believe you're a fucking coward and a burglar because you want to be able to go in and steal people's shit. You want the state to be able to come in and take people's shit. You're a fucking coward. Burglars don't like fucking people that can defend themselves, and I can defend myself with my fist too. And if you beat me in a fight, you cowardly piece of shit, you can have my weapons. I will relinquish them. But you won't. You won't fight someone. You won't come and take it. Because you yourself are a cowardly bitch, and you're going to get people who signed up to serve the people to come do your bidding. I say bring it on, motherfuckers. Bring it on. You guys are cowards. You're a disgrace to this country. Oh, and mental health professionals and doctors, don't think you guys are getting away with this shit. Don't think you guys are going to escape Madame Guillotine when that shit really starts hitting the fan, because a lot of what you do has led to false arrest, and a lot of what you do has not protected anyone, but you've allowed law enforcement to have another mechanism in play to bring people and put them in cages. So you guys are going to run up to a situation where you guys are going to have more people going into hospitals and fucking up doctors and fucking up nurses because they falsely reported, because they're not doing anything for the people, because they don't care anymore. They just want to shove opioids down your fucking throat and have you be docile. Not this person, not this citizen, not this veteran. Fuck you. Thank you for turning it into David's Life and Observation, and I hope you guys all have a great day.